here and say, man, welcome to a special edition of Check the Stats podcast after the Ravens and Chiefs game that just happened. We got the season premiere with the Chiefs defeating the Baltimore Ravens 27-20, man. My thoughts on the game of this, I'll start it off and then we'll pass it around. But I was not impressed, not at all, by the Ravens. I think if you leave out of there saying that it was a good game, I mean, you clearly was watching a different game because we can't be talking real like contending teams with the Ravens playing the way they did. I mean, the offensive line looks atrocious. Like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I know they lost a couple pieces in free agency, but I mean, that line is awful. I mean, Lamar Jackson, I mean, he played to his strengths, running around in the pocket, running. I mean, he's a run-first quarterback, but that's just not going to contend with these AFC powerhouses. And that's why when we came out with our rankings of what the AFC playoff picture was going to look like, it was, for me, I got Cincinnati winning that division and Baltimore being a wild card team. I don't see the Derrick Henry acquisition on that team to be just so significant to the point where they elevated them over like places that they already like the max out with just Lamar. Like, I don't see Derrick Henry being the missing piece to push them over to Super Bowl contention. Like, that line is bad. Derrick Henry looks kind of, and I guess I gotta be the first one to say it because everybody gonna be scared. I mean, sure, he looks like he lost a step. He looked like he kind of moving in quicksand in a way. And like obviously he's a 6'3", 250-pound back, but I mean he's not moving as I mean, I know he's a power back, but he was moving a little slow out there today. But for the most part, the Ravens really disappointed me outside of the Chiefs. I mean, I think the Chiefs offense is very explosive. I think sneaky explosive. I didn't know that Rashee Rice was going to have that big of a workload for him coming into today, but using him out the slide and letting him have them option routes on the linebackers. I mean, shoot, he had a field day with him. I don't know what Baltimore. I know they got a new defensive coordinator. Charles, you remember the name?
Baltimore?
Yeah, they new DC. He was the linebacker coach.
I don't remember the name off the top of my head.
32 years old. I mean, shoot, that option route was all day. I think Rashee went for over 100 for sure. He went 7 catches, 103. Like, I think that offense is scary. Like, I think offense can really be one of the most scariest offenses in the league, especially what I've seen from Xavier Worthy. I mean, that man there looks like a prop. Like, and he ain't even showed nothing real crazy. I mean, his touchdown was wide open, but that speed on the end around, just let's just like pause and like let's think about it for a second because I like story time stuff. Just imagine. You niggas just had the fastest, probably top. What y'all think a realistic ranking where Tyreek is like all-time receiver? If y'all had to put Tyreek anywhere in your top receivers right now, just off the top of your head, don't even think, where would y'all put Tyreek?
Of all time or just
all
current?
Time.
All time? Shit. He'd be like.
He a Hall of Famer for sure, so he's somewhere in that range.
But around what range of receiver?
It's a lot of great receivers.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be like 20, bro. Like 15,
top 20, 25, top 30.
Yeah, like it's too many
15.
I say on the low end, he at 20 with the chance of keeping ascending. But
okay, so imagine having a top 20 receiver of all time. You lose him. Your next off seasons without them, without that Hall of Fame transcendent receiver, is back-to-back Super Bowl championships. And then you come back with the draft capital that you acquired, drafting a receiver in Rashee Rice. That's, I mean, obviously we can see, or I'll be the first one to say that I see superstar potential in him. Like, he's shown that, I mean, obviously it's game one, so I don't want to just overreact or anything, but he's shown that that ability to be like, okay, I'm dependable. I can be Travis Kelce's successor whenever Travis Kelce is gone because Travis Kelce is Mahomes' security blanket. So Rashee working out the slot, I'm like, man, like he's not even looking toward Kelsey Wade like that no more. Like he looking toward Rice before anything else. So I'm like, you can kind of tell that Kansas City is slowly but surely trying to like lower Kelsey's workload in order to be able to preserve him over the like long half of the season, because they know it's 17 game plus season, knowing they're gonna realistically be in the playoffs at least until the divisional round. I mean, proof has shown they haven't been in they've been in how many straight AFC championship games? The last 6, 7, 6?
Every year Mahomes has started, he's been in the AFC Championship.
And he's been started he's in year 8 right now. So his rookie year, he came off the bench. So he's been in the last 6 AFC championship games. Like, this is insane. I ain't gonna lie. I want y'all to get y'all little input in first before I just really elaborate on this. But I really feel like this Chiefs team is really scary, and it has a lot of vital parts of making. They kind of scared me with my Texan prediction. I mean, it's like we got the top receiver room for sure, but hey, the potential what they could be, bro, that's
Yeah, T. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, it is real scary, man. Watching the game, like you said, bro. The Chiefs' offense is very explosive. I wasn't expecting that from Rashee Rice or Xavier Worthy, bro. Like they really surprised me, especially Worthy with 2 touchdowns. Man, Rashee, they could not cover that man, bro. Like he catch the ball, he getting his yards at the catch, man. And you know what I'm saying? You got the running back in the backfield. He was running the ball very well. I mean, it's only like the first game, so it's kind of hard to. Well, it's not hard, but yeah, it's a little hard to, what I'm saying, decide everything right now. But I ain't gonna lie, the Chiefs do look scary, bro. Especially like their defense, like they was locking shit up, bro. Like they really surprised me. Like
I don't think they were just locking stuff up now.
They weren't locking shit up.
I think Charles, you can correct me if you feel a certain type of way, but I feel like they was a solid defense. I feel like they lost a step for sure. That didn't look like last year's Chiefs defense. I feel like the Ravens offense was just a little worse, where it's kind of just like the defense. If that was Raven offense for last year, they probably really beat the Chiefs team. But I feel like the Ravens offense took a step back. The Chiefs defense took a kind of a step back in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say lock it up, like you said. I say they did pretty solid on defense. Now the Ravens, I don't know. It just looked. It didn't look like there was no control of the game. Like, I like Lamar, but that didn't look like Lamar Jackson out there tonight. That really did not look like him. Passes he wasn't throwing the ball well at all. Just missing, like the receivers were dropping the ball and stuff like that. It was just he's missing easy reads and everything like that. Isaiah likely had one hell of a game, but man, even on defense, like it just didn't look like the Ravens to me. You know what I'm saying? So, and then you got Derrick Henry in the backfield. He don't even look like Derrick Henry no more, bro. Like he's like inching up. He like tiptoeing every time he get the ball. He trying to like follow the line and everything like that, but that's not gonna work. Like Derrick Henry, he just
it's a damn zone. They run the zone scheme with a power back.
Yeah, man, it's just like it doesn't look like it's working for him, man. He looks like he got slow. Like he had one explosive play, and he didn't really go like that far. You know what I'm saying? He got a first down for him, but he didn't get that far, man. And I don't know. Both teams, they do look like the Chiefs look better. I ain't gonna lie, they look way better than the
All
Ravens.
right. I got, I guess, a couple of feelings on both teams. From the Chiefs' perspective, they look pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie. I alluded to the Bills kind of giving Mahomes to the Chiefs by trading that pick away, and then kind of having that show a little bit of a parallel with Xavier Worthy. And that's not to say that Worthy would have the impact that Mahomes has had on the Chiefs, but good grief, your first touch as an NFL player is going to the crib. That's crazy on that end around. 2 touches. I ended up in 6 points for the Chiefs. Obviously, with the box coverage, you could take that however you want, but He looks like he's going to be a very, very good piece for the Chiefs, as if they don't have enough. Rasheed Rice looks good. I wonder what their offense will look like whenever that his off the field stuff kind of takes shape and the NFL kind of instills their level of punishment or whatever they want to place on some type of suspension for Rasheed Rice. So if they take him away, I'm curious to see how they'll maneuver without him because he does look like a number one receiver for sure. And I guess he showed flashes of that last season. And now he's looking like, yeah, he will be the successor to Kelsey as far as what Mahomes will be looking for. I do want to pump the brakes a little bit, though, because I want to give more credit to Andy Reid and his offensive scheme. I mean, all these shallow crossers, all these little whip routes going towards the inside of the middle of the field. It's just a lot of mismatches between the receiver and the linebacker. They was really exposing Baltimore's defense. And it seemed like Baltimore set the tone early with their offensive drive that ended in a score despite all them penalties, just for the Chiefs to come right back. A defense looked pretty electric to a certain extent. I wouldn't necessarily say that they're a great defense, but they did their job in limiting the opportunities of the Ravens' fourth down stops. They forced an early turnover. They did their thing. Well, I do want to give a little bit of pause for the Chiefs side of things is like they had 2 trips in the red zone and they walked away with only 6 points. And none of them were touchdowns. They were just field goals. That's a little bit concerning, but I guess that's more credit to the Ravens' defensive side of things. As for how Baltimore looked, in my opinion, I got to be honest, I got mixed feelings. On one side, it's like, man, the defense, it shows signs of buckling down. You like to see a little bit more Kyle Hamilton impact. I mean, it seemed like Roquan Smith was getting picked on until he actually got a pick on Mahomes. So that's something that you could take to the bank. Lamar is Lamar. I mean, he's utilizing his athleticism. This is who he is. He had like almost or pretty close to 400 yards of total offense by himself, all-purpose yards.
Hey, don't please keep it down. Ravens fans are listening. They're salty right now. That young man played an awful. I ain't gonna say awful. Let me not say it. That young man. Let me stop saying he older than us. Shit. Lamar played an okay game. Nothing that you would be. Well, in my personal opinion, he played a 6 out of 10 game. And nothing like you gonna write a check home to the bank and say, okay, I cash it in. Like he can take us to the promised land. Like, and I want to elaborate a little bit on that after you finish your point, but it's I got a lot to say about him.
And the thing is, like, I see where you're coming from with his performance. I mean, he obviously ain't played bad to a certain extent. It's like, he played awful, terrible. He played, in my opinion, you get 400 yards of total offense, you play pretty damn good. You're just getting the ball in the end zone at that point. But I put a lot of blame on the coaching staff to a certain extent because it's like you're looking at these offensive play calls. I mean, like, how many times are you running screens, jailbreaks, and bubbles to Zay Flowers? I mean, that shit was getting predictable. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Likely looks like he's going to be amazing. And whatever production you lack from Mark Andrews, he can make up just like that in an instant. So that's a hit for sure. And we all knew that from last season. He's a special tight end. I guess this was just more validation. But the Derrick Henry signing doesn't look like it'll have the strongest impact that we thought it would have. I don't think he necessarily played a great game, but I mean, 3 yards of carry, that's not who King Henry is. At least not what his. Yeah, that lack of production is like, at least from the first game, that first drive was pretty impressive. And for him to not really make much of a stand on that is like, that's kind of tough. You need a little bit more production from the receiving core for sure. Zay Flowers, I think he played relatively okay, but I mean, you didn't really get much from guys like Bateman, guys like Aguilar. I mean, we know their receiving room isn't the deepest, but you would like to see a little bit more. Obviously, Lamar, we don't necessarily think he had a great game because he missed some relatively open throws, a touchdown opportunity inside the end zone. I mean, he had the play that likely got hurt inside the red zone towards the fourth quarter. He had an easier touchdown pass if he just, put it on him. as opposed to lofting it up towards the back of the end zone. So it's like that's a missed opportunity.
And the other
Yeah,
one, Mark Andrews, down the seam.
yeah, and we already know the one with Zay Flowers to play after. So I mean,
That's 3 minutes touchdown right there in crunch time. So like, what are we talking about now? Like,
it's a game of inches. I mean, literally, that point could be null and void if Isaiah Likely didn't have a KD moment. Like if he just had a smaller shoe size, like that
nope,
could be null and void.
nope.
Obviously, you don't want that to be the case, which is why we're kind of putting this kind of label on Lamar Jackson as not having the greatest game in the world. In my opinion, towards the first half, I thought he outplayed Mahomes with the factor of his legs and his running ability, kind of factoring in with the amount of yards he was maintaining because of Mahomes' inability to put 7 on the board, at least in the first half. With all them trips, with all them defensive stops, fourth down, you got the ball on your side of the 50-yard line and getting the strip sack on your territory and you don't walk away with nothing more than 2 field goals. I mean, you know, if he scored, like I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. If he scored those touchdowns, I mean, like I had a parlay on Harrison Bucket. That would be down the shitter if he just didn't, get the ball and if he just got the ball in the end zone. I hit because of that. Like I appreciate it for sure. But as
Nah,
far as
me too. Me too.
like Chiefs fans, just like that does give me areas of pause. And it's either because the Ravens defense seems like they have a little bit of a number on the Chiefs and they just had a couple of mental lapses, or the Chiefs offense is looking to have a slow start once they get that ball closer and closer to the end zone. So if it's not an electric play, then it's like, okay, we are going to have a bit of a struggle trying to get this ball in the end zone, at least from the first impression of this Thursday night game. So
I think for starters, I believe that and this is a hot take, but by the end of 2025, 2026 season, Lamar Jackson will be a trade candidate for other teams in the NFL if he doesn't end up going to the Super Bowl within these next 2 years. Is that crazy?
yeah, why would you have a trade candidate for a player like him? Like, why would you expect him to be, you know, looked at as being shipped off by the Baltimore Ravens?
So
Facts. Because
my
he's
perspective
done.
on it is like if you kind of look at it like a Dak Prescott situation where it's like, okay, we end up getting we got the most out of you. Like we done got the highest of the highs already. You done already won your league MVP. You done already took us to the playoffs and we done already made it to the AFC championship game. And we done had all these highs already, but we're hungry for more. At a certain point, same old gets old. And you're not like, okay, like you're having a great regular season. You win an MVP. You get an all pro selection. And then you go to the playoffs and you disappoint. It's like, how many times do you want to continue to play limbo until you end up saying like, I need somebody who's gonna give me results, or I'm gonna break this team down and start a rebuild, which I don't think Baltimore probably would realistically do because they do have solid talent around him, which makes it even more the reason where you could have a thought in your mind because you got quarterbacks like Joe Burrow who have reached the Super Bowl. Even if it's a lot of people out there that think Lamar Jackson is better than Burrow. Me, on the other hand, I don't. But you can make the comparison based off of individual accolades, quote unquote. But that team would never trade Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has shown the capabilities of playing quarterback at the highest levels, and he made it to the Super Bowl and beat Mahomes, the guy that unfortunately Lamar Jackson has a record of 1-5 against. I mean, I think we kind of got to understand like this new league of passers are like they can throw the football. Like it's not going to be a lot of quarterbacks that coming in the league that their main asset is their legs, and then their arm is the complementary piece. Like name just real quick, name me the guys that's coming into the league or that are in the league in general that can sustain a long career of their legs being their main asset and their arm being the complementary. Just name them. Because Mahomes, you can't say that about Mahomes. You can't say that about Burrow. You can't say that about Allen. You can't say that about Stafford, Rodgers, CJ, Trevor, Dak. I mean, you can go. I'm not just talking about like superstar quarterbacks in the league. I'm talking about in general. What good quarterbacks mainly are in that mix year in, year out that their legs are their main attraction and their arm is the complementary piece because you can't name me one because unfortunately, well, before you go, well, let me let you go and then I'll retort back with you.
I mean, obviously, you ain't got a lot of quarterbacks that make lengthy careers without, having their main ability to throw the ball, which is why a lot of people are kind of surprised at the level of ascension Lamar Jackson has gotten to. I mean, you forget that he was picked to be a running back or a receiver before he was picked to play his main position that he won a Heisman Trophy with. So that's obviously the case. He's looking to defy the odds. But, I mean, you're looking at the Ravens as a hot take, potentially shipping off Lamar Jackson. I find that insane because, like, you're looking at this from the standpoint of him reaching his pinnacle and the Ravens not, going to the Super Bowl. They're not going to the opportunity to get a Lombardi. Like, you obviously don't have them going to New Orleans this season. I mean, that's obviously the case. But, I mean, if you do realize that in virtually the last 6 years, and especially with the retirement of Tom Brady, the buck stops at Mahomes. Like, if we're looking at Lamar Jackson being a liable trade option or at least someone he should get rid of because he doesn't have a lot of success, I mean, you could literally make the case for a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, you can make the case for Josh Allen. He constantly loses to the Chiefs.
No.
If you can't, okay, give me one reason why you would do that for Lamar versus doing that for Josh Allen. I mean, it's not like Josh Allen hasn't had, a decent amount.
I give you the answer before you even finish your sentence. Josh Allen has had playoff games where the reason why they lost is not on him. Like the game where they went and played the Chiefs and they were down and they had them down 3 with under like 13 seconds left. You literally cannot say that wasn't Josh Allen's fault. He played a flawless game from start to finish. And realistically, when you're 13 seconds left, I think what is it, 2 timeouts, 13 seconds left on the opposing 25, you expect your defense to hold up, and most times out of not, you win the game. Unfortunately, he lost and never had an opportunity to get back on the field in order to match him. So it's like we can't sit there and say Josh Allen, we haven't seen him in the prime is, obviously the prime time lights and him disappoint. We have seen Josh Allen disappoint, but we also seen Josh Allen stand up in all adversity and then control the pace of that game from start to finish, having no turnovers in that game. Gabe Davis going crazy with about, I believe, 3 touchdowns, all in the clutch time. Like, I think
I got 2 quick retorts to that. First off, how long ago was that?
About, I think, 3 years.
3 years. We are holding Josh Allen's crowning achievement of his career as being the reason why he, shouldn't be in this position that Lamar is, if this is what you're holding Lamar to. And his reasoning is because he was a loser in a playoff game to the Chiefs, and he didn't play bad whatsoever. It wasn't his fault that they lost. I mean, last I checked, that kind of goes to my second retort, which is like, you as a quarterback have so much responsibility on your shoulders to the point where you can play a perfect game, but if you don't win, it doesn't matter who the blame goes to. I mean, there's the fact of the matter is you didn't score as many points as the other team, and the buck stops at you. I mean, you're looking at Josh Allen having that happen where he had a defense that was literally awful, giving up 2 leads within the final 2 minutes of that game. You can make that argument. Understandable. but he doubled back against the Bengals and only put up 7 points when he was at home field. He doubled back the year after that, and he only put up 20 points against the Chiefs. I mean, like, he had a prime defense that forced multiple turnovers. Well, that forced a turnover with a chance for him to take the lead, and they had to settle for a field goal. And we all know, as far as Buffalo fans go, field goals is not their best friend. So it's like, I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, you can't necessarily have that standard of Josh Allen not getting to that point of, being tradable or shipped off because of, yeah, he had a great game against the best quarterback in the league, and he came up short, and it wasn't his fault. Newsflash, a lot of people come up short to guys like Mahomes, to guys like Brady. That's what makes those guys so special, because they make other elite quarterbacks look average or just a notch below what they're capable of doing. And what they're capable of doing is winning at a consistent level. That's why we hold Joe Burrow to such a high regard, especially you, because you look at him as like, oh, he got that head-to-head of getting to the Super Bowl. He can go band for band with him. And up to recent memory, he's the only guy to bang that shield, walk out into battle, and actually come out on top against that dude from Arrowhead with that 15 on his jersey. So it's like, I mean, what more can you expect?
Especially to play better at the position quarterback, not be a running back playing quarterback, not your main asset being the run game. But when you lose and you have a lot of prime target, like it makes no sense that their offensive game plan. And obviously, we can all be honest and say that Lamar Jackson has a heavy input on their offensive game plan because quarterbacks have they making fucking a fourth of the building already. Shoot, they probably own property on the building. So you don't think they're getting any say so on how, and what type of game plan they want to execute against Kansas City? Like obviously, he said it in the media, said that if he felt the way he felt now when he was in the playoffs, they would have won. That he wished they could have got it back and they would have ran the ball. So like, I mean, we listening to that.
I mean, yeah, I get you. It's like obviously that ain't gonna be a favorable quote from him because I mean we could play the if game all we want. If my aunt had stones, she'd be my uncle. So it's like that's just what it is.
But no, he's saying that if they ran the ball, and my retort to that is, you're the damn quarterback. Why the hell do you want to run the football in order to win a game? That, hey, if you're the quarterback of that team, you should be like, I want the ball in my hands. I don't want to just hand that bitch off every single play because that's what I feel like is our best chance of winning. I'm like, shoot, I want to be the one in the helms and the controls of okay, like the buck stops on my desk. Even if y'all are running, shoot, you should be the main one taking off. And we seen in that playoff game alone, if you watch. I mean, obviously, you watched the game tonight. They show Lamar Jackson running stats from the AFC Championship game compared to his running stats in the first half. So, obviously, Lamar tried to take a different approach and say, you know what, forget being a quarterback. I mean, he's their quarterback. He made some decent throws for sure, but I feel like he disappointed also a lot. And me personally, I just don't feel like he's – I can't put him in that top five of the quarterback rankings. Like and that may sound crazy and that may sound bad, but I don't care. Like I don't feel like you can win with a quarterback that plays that style of football. And I mean, it's been proven time in and time out. You have to have some type of pass identity besides throwing drags and wheel routes to your running backs and tight ends all game. Like you have to be able to go vertical down the field, and he lacks that. He lacks that tremendously. So I think we should be realistic and say that he's not the guy for the job. And obviously, you already said your point that Mahomes obviously makes us look at these other quarterbacks like they're lesser than, even though obviously they're playing against basically the Brady of the era. So losing would be more likely against when they playing against Mahomes. But it's like you know what I'm saying. Like you understand what I'm saying. You just trying to you try to say like, okay, like I know what you're saying, but everybody else is losing to this nigga too. So like you can't hold him in different regard just because you don't like his style of play. Like I don't know. I don't believe that Lamar Jackson can be your quarterback to take you to the heights of the Super Bowl.
I disagree with you.
too.
I disagree with you for a lot of reasons. I can't name 5 quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, not top 5. Maybe from your standpoint, that's probably based off of who you prefer to have. Because you envision not being able to reach those heights with Lamar's style of play. And I've said it multiple times. It's clear as day. Every time he steps into the playoffs, he ascends to another level. And playoff success, no matter what level it is not linear. And he's testing that to the very max. Goes in his first playoff game, gets knocked off. Runs it back the next time he's healthy against the Titans, gets the dub on the road. Loses to the Bills. Runs it back the next time when he's healthy, Gales against the Texans, dominates us to a certain extent along with the defense helping him out. Goes to the AFC Championship game, loses. I mean, if you're looking at this from a linear perspective, I mean, his next ascension is the Super Bowl, and that's literally the only thing holding him back in terms of like, yeah, now we're actually going to have no choice but to give this nigga some respect because we seen
Okay, but pause to that. Do you realistically see Lamar Jackson as a serious, or do you see the Ravens as a serious, legitimate threat to winning the Super Bowl this year or being contenders? Especially after your game 1, just a quick analysis of what you've seen tonight.
Not tonight, but
I mean,
it's the first game.
That's I'm pretty sure we looked at the Chiefs as not having a chance of winning the Super Bowl last year when they lost to the Lions. With all them damn jobs.
Now, if anybody thought of that, bro, you obviously you either A, a Mahomes hater, or B, you just want something to talk about. And I know a lot of people said that, but you know, people try to make good TV. Like at the end of the day, Mahomes have been to the Super Bowl so many damn times. You can't even say Mahomes isn't a Super Bowl threat every single year he comes into the league, despite the talent that's surrounded around him.